I think that the anti-immigration rhetoric you have is not new. I think that you try to paint a picture of it being this current phenomenon that we're facing, but there's been rhetoric from your side for a long time, throughout the entirety of history. I mean, if we look at the immigration policies in the U.S., even though Chinese immigrants built the entire Western Railroad, there was still the Chinese Exclusion Act because they were providing insane value to the United States, but we still had these exclusion acts because of xenophobic attitudes. And so this is not a novel idea that immigrants are bad for the country. So I'm interested in why you think that all of a sudden we need to change the way the United States works.
Nobody is saying immigrant is bad for the country. It's just too much illegal immigrant without knowing what they're doing, and we have to maintain a huge percentage of them on welfare. That might be an issue.
Well, first of all, immigration has gone in great influxes. We basically turned off all immigration in the 1940s and 50s. We had like net zero immigration for almost 15 years. Most people don't even know that. So we had Ellis Island in the early 1900s, and then we turned on the guzzle of immigration. But let's be honest, for 40 years, we have tried this mass immigration project for the last 40 years. Has it worked? Are we a more connected country? Have middle-class wages kept up? Look at the material data. Has immigration enriched the well-being of the United States of America, especially the last 5 or 6 years? I would say, of course not, actually. We're more divided, we're more factious, and we see this in almost every European country as well. When you import a bunch of people that don't speak your language, that are from the third world, all of a sudden you have mass destabilization happening in your country. It's not a matter of being xenophobic. Instead, it's a matter of being patriotic to your own country and your own citizens. It's not about hating the foreigner, it's about loving the citizen. And your obligation is always to citizens first, not foreigners.
I would say this: unity is our strength, not diversity. And diversity can be a strength, but not in the amount of people that they are so diverse and so much that will actually make their own community next to another one. So you're just creating two communities that disagrees with each other.
So you don't think that the MAGA movement has led to xenophobic attitudes at all?
I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, like...
Why not?
Well, because you have to first define what you mean by xenophobic attitudes.
I mean, just like you said, I mean, we're living in a divided world. You don't think that comes from people being anti-immigration?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think when you allow a bunch of people that aren't native-born Americans too quickly with no checks, no background, no idea who they are, and flood them into your towns, definitionally, diversity is not a strength when it comes to local community ties.
If you don't use it, I don't know that you're committed to finding its strength.
Hold on. No, explain this to me. This is a good question.
Yeah.
What country has ever grown stronger the more divided it's been?
None, but I'm not saying that we have to get more divided.
No, but diversity definitionally will divide you. Unity unifies you.
It's very interesting that Charlie Kirk says diversity isn't really our strength. She says maybe because you're not using it. I'm like, are we supposed to be united by the one that gives you the option? But it does feel that the person that gives you the option to unite, you're telling them, no, unite to the people that are coming over that you're helping. And I'm like, wait a second. That is reverse logic. That's like me helping somebody that is drowning in my boat, put him in my boat, and it's like I'm captain now.
You notice they never say unity is our strength, they say diversity is our strength. In fact, just so we are clear, there is nothing racist or xenophobic to say that you want your kids to be around people that speak English. There's nothing racist to say that. It actually means that you want to be able to communicate with your neighbor. There's nothing racist and xenophobic to say, for example, we don't want to import people from a far-off distant land that don't share Western values, that don't treat women the same, that don't have the same respect for freedom of speech. So what we see is the unraveling of the United States of America because a country is again, just like undoubtedly, it is the people that inhabit it. So you have to be very careful what people you allow into your country.
And she's going to say, America, you put them in that position so they don't really need to learn the language, but it's diversity and it is your strength that you cost.
Sure, but I think that what you're talking about, this like mass shift in American culture is like not happening. I think you're fear-mongering. And also, I think that the United States forever has been a mix of culture. I don't really know like where you can point to a time in the U.S. history that hasn't included immigrants in its culture.
Again, from the 1920s to 1960s, we had very little immigration in this country, nearly 40 years. In fact, that is what largely led to us becoming a world superpower in the 1950s, is we
had the Bracero program back then where we brought in tons of laborers from Mexico to the United States to work in agricultural, and that's how we fed the United States. So I really don't think that you can say that.
It was very limited in scope versus what we see today.
It's so disingenuous. Why are you talking about the Bracero program of 1950s when maybe 200,000 or 500,000 Mexican people can come over, and you can convert between 1942 to 1964 about 4 million contracts were made. But she's not talking about that almost half of them, almost 2 million, actually went back many times. But now you want to compare that to people that came to work under a contract with the open freaking border under many other presidents. Come on, man.
But again, I will ask a more moral question. Does a politician have first loyalty to its own citizens or to another country's citizens?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought this because I wanted to circle back to my original question about the United States creating instability in the rest of the world. I do think that every single politician, like let's say I'm the Prime Minister of South Africa, you know,
It's just an incredibly anti-white country.
Why did you bring South Africa? You could have chosen so many countries. Sure, bad things happen in South Africa, but right now, it ain't that safe for white people either.
Anyway.
Dangerously anti-white.
Okay. Anyway.
Do you know about that, by the way? You should.
Apartheid, yes.
Oh, no. It's like they're killing white people in the streets in South Africa. They're stealing farmland. I mean, if you don't know about that, that shows how the media is lying to all of you. It is literally a mini white genocide happening in South Africa right now.
But I don't think that we should...
No, it's fine. You brought up South Africa, not me, but yes.
That was just an example. Anyway, let's stay on topic. So let's say I'm the Prime Minister of a country. I do agree with you that my first job is that country, for sure. That's who I'm leading. But considering the United States has created mass violence, instability, and poverty around the world, you don't think that we have some sort of obligation to the people who then have to flee from that?
No.
Why not?
Wait, hold on. Well, why not? Define your terms. Where have we created mass stability? I'll grant you Iraq. That was a disaster. Where else?
In all of Latin America, in different countries in Africa, places that, like the Philippines that we colonized, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm always so interested in this, as if it's like, you can never blame those countries for not having their act together. It's somehow America's fault.
It's like saying Che Guevara was created because America did something. It's like saying Venezuela is destabilized because America did something. I'm like, maybe they might have an influence, but they influence something that's already there.
Like, oh, it's America's fault that Nicaragua can't get its act together. It's America's fault, even though we welcome Puerto Rico to become U.S. citizens, like we've colonized them. So here's the paradox.
You don't think that Puerto Rico was colonized?
No. I'm saying no. So if we don't help Puerto Rico, we're evil. When they become a territory, we colonize them, and we haven't done enough. It's like, which one is it exactly?
What people are forgetting that many times these countries are so destabilized. You know why? Because they're trying to copy the Socialist Party. That's why they keep imploding. That's what America did. That's what Salvador did. Until Salvador said, you know what, I ain't dealing with this. I'm free. You're a bad person. You're copying America.
So the Puerto Rico was taken from the Spanish as a colony and used as a sugar farm for years, where the workers were paid less than $1 per day to create sugar for the United States. And it's not really about statehood or independence. It's about letting Puerto Rico decide that for themselves. And anyway, this isn't about Puerto Rico.
No, it's fine. But and more broadly, and I'll get to the couple final questions here. I can sense that your problem is that, like, America's super successful and these other countries aren't. And foundationally, it's rooted in envy, bitterness, and resentment, because we are the world superpower. It's not because we've held anybody back. It's because we've had incredible people, really good ideas.
You don't think the U.S. has intervened in a negative way in other countries?
At times, yes. At times, we've intervened very favorably. Can you at least acknowledge at times that...
Sure, there has been aid, but there's also been terrible coups.
Not just aid. South Korea exists because of American involvement. Kuwait exists because of American involvement.
But it's not...
So...
But to look at American accountability, you have to look at the whole of that accountability. And to say that certain countries are less developed purely on their own fault is to ignore history.
So that's where we disagree.
Okay.
Countries have to take responsibility for their own future, which again, this is one of the reasons why so many people hate Israel. Every other country around there is like a third world country, and Israel is super successful and super agenic, and they're able to be like one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. You gotta wonder, what is it that they're doing? Oh, it's the Jews because they're stealing all this money. No, actually they like work super hard, and they don't believe in Islam, and they actually, and like, wow. And the one place
Have you ever been to those countries?
Yeah, actually, I have been to Israel, and I've been to the Palestinian Authority. I've been to the West Bank. I've actually visited it. Even if I hadn't, that doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong, just for the record.
I love the fact that he said that because a lot of people might say that. But I would say more, just because you read something on Wikipedia, that doesn't mean you're right.
Even if I hadn't, that doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong, just for the record. By the way, I encourage you to try to go to Lebanon or Syria. Not exactly the Four Seasons, right? So,
And you
not
don't
great.
think that U.S. intervention has anything to do with that?
Partially, but again, to blame the evil U.S. intervention for every single problem is at its core intellectually sloppy.
I don't think so, because the United States has 2 times the military of the rest of the world. It has been in our DNA to intervene in a military way in other countries.
Because if somebody is going to help me in a specific way, I know for a fact they want something back. Because it's not sustainable that somebody is going to help me forever.
To say, I mean, I know you believe
so
in...
I want to try to square this all together. I got to get another question, just to make sure I'm clear. So you're mad at America for getting involved in other people's countries, right? So America's bad for that. But then you want everyone to come to America. I thought America's bad.
I'm saying that the United States needs to be held accountable. You can't meddle in
So we're
other
held accountable by
countries.
inviting the entire world here?
If you are going to mess up that country, you have to do something about
Oh,
it.
do something. Invite them here.
Maybe if you're the reason that they have to leave.
Let's say I agree with this girl. I would say, hey, sure, we intervened, we messed it up. Come people, filter. We need to filter the people that might cause the war that I try to help you with. But you can't even say that these days.
Maybe if you're the reason that they have to leave. No?
Right. Then that at its core, I'm glad you articulated it, is neoconservatism, which is invade the world, invite the world. Which is that you don't support the invasion part of it, but somehow we have to invite the world as some sort of like mass penance.
But that's like you invade and then say, oh,
Well, no, I don't
now-
support the invasions. I think you are overly ascribing fault to the United States of America, when in reality
think so.
it's these own broken countries that cannot get their own act together.
I
A
think-
great example is this, and I'll close with this. El Salvador is actually safer than America. It has billions of dollars flowing into El Salvador. Why? Because they elected Bukele, who decided to go after MS-13 and clean up the streets of El Salvador. Which, again, it was because they decided to do good things with massive action. Countries can be wealthy. Singapore is wealthy. You could be a very wealthy country if you embrace Western market ideas, private property with low crime, and it's not
But,
always...
I mean, in the case of El Salvador, the United States was the reason that the country broke down into gang warfare. And now if you look at the way they were able to turn around, they had to declare a
Again,
state of emergency.
They already had a civil war. America went to help them. People had to escape because they were losing the war. They came into a neighborhood with other people, Mexican poor neighborhood. They fought together. They couldn't deal with the damage. America was like, I have enough troubles with the own people that are coming from Mexico and here and there. You're causing more trouble because I kind of trained you. You're fighting each other. You're doing wild stuff. Go back to your country. And it spread in South America. So what you're saying, literally, America should have never helped ever.
Just
Again,
to be able to turn things around.
It's just like, this is where we're different. And then I'll close, then we have to get going.
Be-
I look at America as a force for good. You look at everything wrong and you say it must be America.
No, sir. I'm looking at bad things that they have done and calling for accountability.
Okay, like
I mean, maybe we disagree. I don't know.
I guess I think we're a wonderful country, and I think if a country is poor, they're poor by choice, and they have to be able to get their act together, make better decisions, and stop acting like victims all the time. Thank you very much.
I was a poor guy. I lived in poor neighborhood, and I realized that now I don't think like poor people, and usually they tell me I don't have a heart. But I'm like, how can I not have a heart? But I do have the money. But at the same time, you want my heartless heart to giving a lot of love. But when I try to teach you how to love so you can have my money, you're telling me, no, I don't want to be heartless. And I'm like, but you still want me to give you the money. That's why a lot of people stay poor. And it saddens me that I don't see that.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Turloqueta verdeta welcome.